Hello, people. Newly changed CKO here in my room in front of the UFC posters, and we're going to be doing a slower talking type video today, just going over everything really. So uh, basically, what I wanted to do was make a video going over who I am, think my goals for this year because the point of this channel, I only have 20 subscribers right now, so I'm not in I'm entering the burpee community, so I'm not trying to be the biggest ever, but it's sort of just to keep me accountable with my training and to just reassess what my goals really are. So let's just get started. Who am I? I'm Caden Cole. Born. I live in the United States. Um, High school kid. I am 17, and I'm involved in wrestling, in newly this year track and field, and I want to try cross country next year. But let's go ahead and talk about my training background. I've basically I know I don't look like it, but like I I've worked out pretty much every day for the last 2 years maybe. At the occasionally I'll give myself a semi rest day, which is like a walk or something, but I'm pretty good about not doing nothing. Um, I've pretty much been training ever since I was in middle school when my uncle, who's an ex powerlifter, got me hooked on weightlifting and working out. And I remember I used to go to his house, and my dad would drop me off, and then would ask me, all right, how long? And I was like, oh, I don't know, like 1 hour. And then just 3 hours later, my first day there was leg day, and powerlifting leg day was hell. He made me do walking lunges straight, walking lunges for 30 minutes straight. It was just way to brainwash a kid who's brand new into weightlifting, a fat kid who yeah. So um I basically um yeah. So I did in middle school. I never really did sports growing up. I did soccer a little bit in third and fourth grade, but was not good at it at all. I've been a chubby kid basically all my life, and right now even a little bit, but that's just baby fat from this bulk. But yeah, I've been a chubby kid my whole life, and and during eighth grade I started football and was awful, uncoordinated, slow, fat, somewhat tall for my age because was 5'8" then, still 5'8" now. I haven't grown for shit, but yeah. Um, so yeah, did did football and tried wrestling, which was also really bad at that, but I liked the spirit of wrestling and just that mentality of push yourself and just self improvement. And honestly, probably just the torture of practice. Then again, eighth grade practice wasn't anything like what high school practices are like. So then freshman year, I stuck with football and kept doing wrestling and still was training. Didn't relatively know that much, just kind of honestly just kind of played with the weights. Wasn't really keen on tracking progressive overload, which is a problem that I know now. And then sophomore year, COVID hit. I really got into training because I had so much free time. I remember I got sophomore year during wrestling season. I really got big into training, and that's when I started doing 2 days. I would wake up every day. Like during season, I would wake up, um, work out, and then eat breakfast, and then go to school, and then go to wrestling practice. And that's actually like when I really first started seeing the best gains of my life, because my body was primed for a stimulus. Sophomore year, I quit football. COVID, I could blame it on COVID, but honestly, it was partly just because I was done with football as a sport. Just didn't really enjoy it as much anymore. But um, so re- did wrestling. Really got into training, and then at the end of my sophomore season, in the final championship match of a bracket of a tournament that I was winning, I got my shoulder dislocated, and that's what started like that. That's what fucking created everything. I Once my shoulder was dislocated, I I couldn't wrestle. Had to do work study at my school, which I hated, and all I wanted to do was go to wrestling practice. All I wanted to do was work out. But I couldn't do that. Um, and for the month after, I was in a sling and was still doing work study at my school while in a sling. I can't tell you how many times I had to explain that. And then I could start training again, but season was over. Looking back at it, I wish then that I would have done track and field, because that would have greater broadened my horizons, and I couldn't really do anything like heavy weightlifting or heavy pressing. So track and field really would have been a good option. But it was around that time when I started getting involved with the burpee community. I found Iron Wolf when I was looking for resistance cardio, pretty much. I was looking for cardio that would greater help me with wrestling. And I stumbled upon the first video that I saw from Iron Wolf was his push up, kettlebell, um, 6 count burpee routine, which is still one of my favorite routines to come back to. And that was one of the first videos I saw from him, and that just created this whole obsession with his channel. Going through like a bunch of old videos, like foundational routines, like Navy SEAL routines, 8 count bodybuilder routines, a lot of his like follow along workouts, his kettlebell 6 count burpee workout, his 20, I believe 20 or 25 down to one. I looped that crap or shit so many times, and that just created that kind of led me to where I was now. Unfortunately, this was in the fourth quarter or so of my sophomore year, and in a in a way, I was trying to strengthen my shoulder, but looking back at it, doing high rep burpees and high rep calisthenics immediately after dislocating a shoulder, not a good idea at all in hindsight. But that's that's what I did. I can't go back on what I did, and uh, I started. The second I started getting back into wrestling practices, because the season was over. The wrestling practices are early in the morning at 5 a.m. Not 5 a.m., but like 6 a.m. But I love that. I love that shit. I was starting to get all about fasted cardio, getting more into Iron Wolf's routines, getting more into just building mass. I wrestled at 145, although I was tiny for 145 my sophomore year, and what I at that point I was probably about like 150 to 155 ish, and then uh, so I remember it like it was yesterday. I went to one practice earlier in the week, and then the next day after that, I did the burpee routine from Hell 2.0, well, or I don't know if it was 2.0, but the burpee routine from hell, which is one pump Navy SEAL ladder all the way up to 6 pumps or 5 pumps. I don't know what the original was, but I did the original. And then 12 hours later, I went to a wrestling practice with my coach, and within like 10 seconds, boom, dislocated my shoulder right off the labrum, and yeah, it put me out for the whole summer pretty much. Like, and like that was like, I feel like I was just starting to get steam again and just starting to build my body to like a physique that I somewhat liked. Looking back at it, I was just creating a massive caloric deficit and was just starting to get really shredded. But in a way, this it kind of it all ties together, because after I did that, um, I the second time it was a worse dislocation than the first time. And what we should have done was we should have done a proper PT routine after the first time, but my high school coach told me that I was good, and he's the one who dislocated my shoulder, so he's probably not the best frame of reference. But yeah, uh, dislocated my shoulder, and that summer, man, I was obsessed. Like, I had developed such a bad relationship with food and exercise, to the point where I was so worried that I would be fat that literally I got a Fitbit, still have it now, but I did nothing but track steps, do cardio, because all I could do was pretty much just body weight squats, body weight lunges, walk. I did I did a shitload of it. I did 200 plus squats. I did I think 1,000 plus squats a day. I did walking lunges like 3 times a week, high rep. I did mindless amounts of sit-ups. I did I did shadow boxing, but like just with my feet, like shadow Muay Thai, but just with legs. Ridiculous. And like the sheer amount of walking I did, man. Like I would get, like, right now, most of the time I average about, I'm at 27,000 steps a day right now. Most of the time I average about like 25 to 27 to 28,000 steps a day. During those days, I would get legitimately 30 to 35,000 steps a day, because that's all I was focused about. And that's just the way I'm driven. I'm so like focused on whatever my goal in front of me is, that I will literally do nothing. And at that point, the goal was just not getting fat, because I was so worried. Oh, I'm injured. I'm gonna be out for the count. I still want to be able to eat. And I definitely didn't get fat. I went from 155 over the course of that summer down to 132. Skinny, like dripping, like 132 dripping wet. I was like, several people came up to me like and were like, "Dude, are you okay?" Because like I had gone from about the body fat percentage I'm at right now, so like 15-16%, down to like 8%, shredded, skinny, and just not healthy at all. And like towards the end of summer, I started getting back into, I started PT, so I started doing more. Like I started uh yeah, I started PT, so I started doing more. I all the PT exercises I would get, they gave me a list of exercises. I would do all those twice, 2 times more than what they said, and then I would also do some that I found myself. As soon as like I got the okay for wall push-ups, I started doing like hundreds of those a day. As soon as I got the okay for chair dips. I did hundreds of those, and it was painful as hell because my shoulder was weak as shit. But I did it and eventually built my base up to where they were like, okay, you can jump rope, you can bike, you can run. And I did that. I was skinny out of my goddamn mind because all I was doing was cardio, but I did it. It was a no on burpees for a while, and I was very depressed because of that. But eventually, towards the end of the summer, I was a lot like my strength was increasing sky high night and day, and that's because I was pretty much using like similar bodybuilding style tactics of hypertrophy for my rotator cuff. And towards the end of the summer, I was able to start wrestling again, and I did. And I remember just being uncoordinated as hell and sucking, but I did it. First day of school, there was a wrestling practice at 6 a.m. I was the only guy that I was one of two guys that showed up, me and a senior, and I couldn't even wrestle. I just did jump rope and some conditioning drills, but I was so happy just to be in the room. And that's kind of how my first quarter this junior year went. I was so focused on getting ready for wrestling season to try and make up for the lost time that I had in the summer. I didn't really focus on getting with any friends. I didn't really focus on anything else. And I the weight was coming up, but way too slow. I was really focused on cardio too much, just like in the summer. And I the weight did eventually come up, but at a very sad, slow rate. I entered the school year at like about 134, and like at the end of the first quarter I was about at 137, 130, 136, 137. Just really skinny. And it was that we it was starting to get towards actual wrestling season, and I was starting to be like, okay, what weight class am I going to go? Um, one third like the it was starting to align up to where 138 would be free for me, so I was like, okay, I weigh about 136, 137 right now. I'll stay at 138, eat my way up, and build myself into a 138 pounder. And I started off the season feeling a little bit underweight. I wrestled off my weight class and won who against a guy who was bigger than me and had to cut to make 138. But I was more conditioned, and after every single practice this wrestling season, you would see my crackhead ass jumping rope. And like before like I took what I had done last wrestling season and cranked it up to 11 with the 2 days. Every single goddamn day I did something. Maybe it was 10 minutes of jumping rope, maybe it was 60 minutes of jumping rope, but I did something. Wasn't really on a good strength routine, but it was towards when I was getting ready for it that I saw the wolf again. I came back to Iron Wolf's channel, got more into burpees, got more into high rep calisthenics, and just fell in love with it really. Like I don't know if it was like I felt at home, man. Like it's the mentality that Iron Wolf presents. I matched with it so well, and um like I would never recommend doing my schedule during wrestling season, but during wrestling season, I towards the in December, Iron Wolf released the December challenge. Granted, I was still doing wrestlings, doing 2.5 hour wrestling practices, doing wrestling tournaments, and sucking ass at them, which I'll get to in a second. But I started doing the December challenge. Didn't record it. The only one I recorded was CVP for an hour because I got 29 rounds, which just shows what level my cardio was at. And the main thing was I started during this time of high rep calisthenics while also doing wrestling, while also doing jump rope. just an absurd amount of conditioning. I was eating more. Granted, I was still doing way too much cardio and was still really shredded, but I my weight actually over the course of the season got up to about 142 to 144. I was I was no longer small for 138. I was very big for 138, and like I could feel it when I would wrestle kids. My conditioning was still there as well. I still had I got the best gas tank award, which is actually right here. Best gas tank. All right. But yeah. Now, how did the season go? The season went. I on one of my down my upside for wrestling was my conditioning and my heart and my work ethic, but my downside was everything else. My technique sucked. My athleticism sucked. My explosiveness sucked. And being honest, the 2-a-days definitely contribute to that. Like, I was burning myself out before wrestling practice, going in and just praying, and I was focusing more on the workout beforehand. So when I get to goals, that's one of the things I need to work on. Wrestling season I ended. I didn't qualify for state. I missed weight. Like, I missed weight because I was getting way too fat, and I worked out beforehand. Did an Iron Wolf PT workout. Weighed myself at here was 140. Drank some water, and missed weight. It was the most embarrassing moment of my life, and I'll never live down that day. But I missed weight, and immediately after I went into a depression for a bit because I didn't know what to do. But all my friends, all my partners, they all qualified for state, and then it was just depressing being the only kid out of like your group of people that you practice with that didn't qualify for state. Um, and it was kind of because after wrestling season, I had like this, just like this fire, this like will to like, man, I need something. I need to do something. Like I didn't I was so close to my goal. I was so close to qualifying for state, which was all I wanted to do sophomore year, and I didn't do it. But so that's what led me to trying out track and field. I've never ever done anything distance related, but I tried out track and field and started out. I was JV my first meet, and then varsity every meet after that. Now, was I good? Not really, but I was good enough to be varsity. I ran my PR was a 10-minute 45-second 2 mile, and 2 mile is literally the only event I ran because I'm way too slow to actually be good at any of the other events, unfortunately. So I ran 2 mile, and towards the end of the season, I hit a plateau where 3 races back to back I ran 11:02, 11:02, and 11:01. I think some of this has to do with overtraining, but what can I say? So that was, and then that leads me to where I'm at now. The first week of summer, and just everything. So that pretty much summarizes my background with the last year and working out. So let's touch on my goals. Number one goal: gain muscle. I've been I'm tired of being skinny. I'm tired of not looking like I work out when I work out like a motherfucker. Muscle building is the number one. Second, gain athleticism. I'm trying to become a high caliber athlete, an explosive athlete, yet while also doing what some would deem not the most explosive sports, such as cross country and track and field. But I wanna be able to run the 800 next track and field season and be somewhat good at it. So I want to gain muscle and also become an explosive athlete. I don't want to get too fat, but I before I had a lot of fat to gain. Right now I'm a little chubby, but hey, I want to achieve a 405-pound deadlift by next wrestling season. I tested my one. I haven't tested my 1 rep max, but I don't know if the footage will be playing back right now. But I pulled 315 for 5 the other day. So I feel like I have around 5 to 6 months before wrestling season, give or take, because it's May now. Wrestling season starts in like November, so I have 5 to 6 months to increase my deadlift by a plate. I feel like I can do that. And achieving a 405-pound squat by next wrestling season. That I don't know how realistic that is, but I'm going to try my ass off and upload more frequently. I really want to create a YouTube channel, even if I can just inspire one person, that's really just what I want to do. And if anything, it's kind of selfish, but I just want this channel as a sort of hallmark to look back and see what I was doing and what got me the results that I got. All right. Just briefly talk about track and field and cross country plans for next year. I'm not doing near as much long, slow, steady cardio that I was, but I think that I need to find a good balance. So if anybody has any ideas, please let me know. Um, the my because when I started track and field, like I do with everything, I got obsessed with it, and all I wanted to do was get better, run more miles, and so that ended up me pulling 2 days, like I do with fucking everything, and burning myself out, and creating my own plateau. Um, so this cross country season, if I am going to try it, what's going to be interesting is I'm actually going to be trying out for a school play during the time. So it will kind of force me to pull back on training. And what to expect from the channel? Pretty much, I'm going to be uploading a lot more frequently now. I'm going to try and keep it consistent of a daily upload. Um, I'm and yeah, I'm going to try and upload every day, uh, and just stay more consistent with it because consistency is king. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I rambled on for too long. I'll go ahead and explain the name change. CKO, my name before was Shiny V102 because that's what my name was when I created this channel back when I was like 8. Love Pokemon then, still fucking love it now, but it's a little immature. And I figured if I really am going to be entering the burpees community, I should change my name. So CKO. When I was younger, I wanted to be a rapper, and my dad came up with it because of my initials. So CKO Fit has a much better ring to it. I've rambled on for way too fucking long, but if you have any questions, please leave them below. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you've watched this long. Comment pineapple, and until next time, peace.